Okay, let's be real for a sec. You're probably seeing all the hype about AI lately. It seems like everything's going to have AI in it now, right?
Yeah.
But uh, are you actually seeing the benefits,
Yeah.
like in your own life,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to your iPhone? Well, today we're doing a deep dive into Apple Intelligence.
Yeah.
We're going to cut through all the marketing stuff and try to figure out what it really does.
Right. For everyday users like you.
Yeah. So to get to the bottom of this, we're looking at a couple of interesting sources. First, we've got a recent article from 9 to 5 Mac about a survey of iPhone owners and their feelings about Apple Intelligence.
Okay.
And then we're going to jump over to Reddit,
Right.
to a thread where people are reacting to the article
Okay.
and sharing their own opinions and experiences. Yeah.
Sounds fun. It will give us a real-world view of how this technology is actually being received.
Exactly. So one of the things that really jumped out from the 9 to 5 Mac article was this statistic from a survey by CellCell, which is a tech trade-in site. Almost half of iPhone users they surveyed said that AI was a major factor in their decision to buy a new phone. But then 73% of them said that the current AI features are not very valuable or add little to no value.
Wow. So there's a big gap, huh?
Huge.
Suggests there's a disconnect
Yeah.
between the potential of AI, which obviously drew people in, and the reality, how it's actually being implemented.
Yeah, like they're buying into the promise, but they're not seeing it play out yet.
Right.
So what are those features that people aren't exactly raving about? Well, the survey ranked the top 5 most popular Apple Intelligence features before iOS 18.2.
Before they shook things up.
Yeah. And coming in at number 1, used by 72% of the people surveyed, are the AI-powered writing tools.
That makes sense, like predictive text, grammar suggestions.
Autocorrect, all that stuff.
Things that people use every day.
Right.
So improving existing features is a good starting point for AI. It's less about, introducing something brand new and more about making what people already use better.
Right. Yeah.
Like refining what's already there.
Exactly. After that, we've got notification summaries at 54%.
Okay.
Followed by priority messages, which about 44.5% of people use. Then things drop off a bit. Cleanup and photos at just under 29%.
Okay.
And finally, at the bottom of the list is smart reply in mail and messages, which is only used by about 21% of people.
So it's interesting to me here is that the most popular features, they're all about like streamlining,
Yeah.
automating existing tasks,
Right.
not really unlocking like totally new capabilities
Right.
or changing the way people use their phones in a big way.
Yeah, it's just making the old stuff work better.
Right.
So we've got this data showing that people are interested in AI, but they're not totally sold on how it's being implemented.
Right.
But now things get really interesting when we head over to that Reddit thread
Okay.
where people are reacting to the 9 to 5 Mac article.
Oh, boy.
People had some thoughts.
Yeah, I bet. People are really passionate about their phones.
Yeah,
And when it comes to AI, there are very strong opinions on both sides.
for sure. There was a whole range of comments
Yeah.
from super enthusiastic to like totally skeptical,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of humor mixed in too.
Yes. Gotta love Reddit. It's known for its humor. And it can be, a bit sarcastic,
Mm-hmm.
but insightful too. It's a good way to see how people really feel about things.
Yeah, like there was one comment that compared Siri to the boss's nephew who got the job because of connections,
Oh,
which I think pretty much sums up how some people feel about AI assistants.
right.
Not exactly competent, but somehow still there.
Still around. Yeah, it really highlights that gap between expectation and reality. Like, people expect AI to be, intelligent,
Right.
but in practice, it often falls short.
For sure.
Yeah. It can feel clunky or buggy or just frustrating to use.
Exactly. And there were a bunch of stories about Siri struggling with basic tasks, like understanding what people are saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, or giving them accurate information. Like, someone was trying to get the weather in Ottawa, and Siri kept giving them the forecast for a completely different city.
Oh, no.
Like, come on.
Yeah. So it raises an interesting question, though.
Mm-hmm.
Is this about the technology itself? Or is it about how Apple is choosing to implement it?
Mm.
Maybe the AI is capable of more, but it's being held back by, design choices
Yeah.
or limitations within the iPhone's ecosystem.
That's a really good point. And it ties into some of the deeper concerns people were bringing up, like whether all this AI processing is really happening on the device,
Right.
like Apple claims,
Right.
or if our data is actually being sent to the cloud, which of course brings up a whole other set of questions around privacy, but we'll get into that later.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, even if it is happening locally, it still takes a toll on your battery life and performance.
Yeah.
So I can totally see why people would be wary of that. Yeah, no one wants their phone to be constantly just chucking away, draining
Yeah.
the battery, slowing down everything else just because Siri is trying to, write you a poem.
Exactly. But, okay, let's say for the sake of argument that Apple is being truthful and all this processing is happening on the device. Does that mean we can just relax, not worry about our data?
Not necessarily. Even if the data isn't being sent to the cloud, it's still being collected
Right.
and analyzed
Yeah.
by the AI on your phone.
Right.
And that raises questions about, how that data is being used, what insights are being generated, who has access to all that information.
Yeah, it's almost like we're carrying around these little black boxes in our pockets, and we have no idea what's going on inside them.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. It highlights the need for transparency.
Yeah.
We need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used,
Yeah.
and what control we have over it.
Yeah. That's a great point. And it's something that I think a lot of people are starting to demand from tech companies. We're not just blindly accepting whatever they throw at us anymore. We're asking questions and holding them accountable.
It's just a really positive development. It shows that people are becoming more aware of the power of their data and, how important it is to protect their privacy.
For sure. And it ties into another big question that came up in the Reddit thread. Is all this AI stuff really making our lives better? Or is it just creating new problems and distractions?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, right, of the new features and shiny gadgets. But it is important to step back and ask ourselves, what are we really gaining?
Yeah.
And what are we maybe losing in the process?
Right. Like Genmoji is cool and all. But is it actually adding value to my life?
Right.
Or am I just spending more time on my phone creating silly emojis instead of actually talking to people?
Right. And that's a question that each individual has to kind of answer for themselves. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
But it is important to be mindful of how technology is impacting our lives, both positively and negatively.
So how do we do that? How do we find that balance between embracing the cool new stuff, but also, staying grounded in the real world?
Well, I think it starts with being intentional about our technology use.
Okay.
Instead of just passively consuming, whatever's put in front of us, we need to be active participants. Ask ourselves, why are we using a particular app or feature? What are we hoping to get out of it? Is it actually serving us?
That makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
It's like anything else in life. Moderation is key.
Exactly. It's about being mindful of our own needs and values. If something feels like it's taking over our lives or pulling us away from the things that are important to us, then, maybe it's time to step back.
Reassess.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the last big topic we need to cover, the future of Apple intelligence.
Okay.
Where is this all heading? What should we be expecting? And more importantly, what should we be demanding from Apple and other tech companies as AI continues to evolve?
Right, because this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
AI is still in its early stages. It's going to keep developing and changing at an incredibly rapid pace.
It's crazy how fast it's all happening.
Yeah.
So listeners, get ready to put on your futurist hats as we explore what the future holds for Apple Intelligence right after this. Okay, so we talked about some of the mixed reactions to Apple Intelligence and the features before iOS 18.2, which were maybe a little underwhelming, and the new stuff like Genmoji and ChatGPT integration, which is, maybe kind of a game changer.
Right.
But now I want to dive into some of the deeper concerns that people were raising in the Reddit thread.
Right. Like the stuff that goes beyond just, does the feature work or not?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think these concerns are especially relevant for, you guys listening, who are clearly, engaged with this technology and want to understand the bigger picture.
Right. We can't just be like passive consumers here.
Right.
We need to be asking these tough questions, especially with something as powerful and, potentially transformative as AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big ones that came up was, is Apple really using AI to benefit users?
Yeah.
Or is it more about, pushing people to buy new iPhones, more expensive iPhones?
Yeah. Remember all those comments about planned obsolescence?
Oh, yeah.
People were like, oh, suddenly my perfectly good iPhone from last year isn't powerful enough to run these new AI features? What a coincidence.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
AI does require a lot of processing power,
Right.
and it's not unreasonable to think that, companies might use that as a way to accelerate those upgrade cycles.
Right, and that ties directly into the whole skepticism about whether or not AI is actually running locally on the devices.
Right.
Like Apple claims,
Mm-hmm.
if all the, heavy lifting is happening in their servers, then it makes sense that they'd want you to have the latest and greatest hardware to
Yeah.
handle all that data transfer, right?
Right.
It's a tough one to answer. I mean, Apple's been very upfront about their on-device processing,
Yeah.
but you always have to wonder with these big tech companies, right?
Right. There's always like a degree of skepticism, I think,
Yeah.
when it comes to data usage.
Yeah.
For sure.
And even if it is happening locally, it's still using your battery
Right.
and taking up processing power. So, it's still affecting your phone.
You're right. No one wants their phone to be, like chugging away,
Yeah.
draining the battery, slowing everything down, because Siri's trying to come up with a limerick.
Exactly. Okay, so let's say, for the sake of argument, Apple is being truthful
Mm.
and all the processing is happening locally on your device.
Yep.
Does that mean our data is safe?
Not necessarily.
So,
And analyzed
Okay.
by the AI on your phone. So it raises questions about how that data is being used.
okay.
What kind of insights are being generated from it? Who has access to it?
Yeah, like we're carrying around these little, black boxes. We don't know what's happening inside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a good analogy. Like, it really highlights this need for transparency, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used, what control we have over it.
Yeah, it's such a good point.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot more people are starting to demand that from tech companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not just accepting whatever they give us anymore.
Right, right. Which is really positive. It shows that people are becoming more aware,
Hmm.
of the power of their data and how important it is to protect their privacy.
For sure. And this ties into another question that we saw a lot in that Reddit thread.
Mm.
Is all of this AI stuff actually making our lives better?
Right. That's the million-dollar question, right?
Sure.
Like, it's so easy to get caught up in the hype, the new features, the shiny gadgets,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to step back and ask, like, what are we actually gaining from this?
Yeah.
What are we potentially losing?
Like, yeah, Genmoji's fun, but is it really like adding something to my life? Or am I just on my phone more,
Yeah.
making silly emojis instead of interacting with actual humans?
Right. And that's a question that, everyone has to answer for themselves. There's no right or wrong answer.
Huh.
But it's important to just be mindful,
Right.
of how technology is impacting our lives, both, the good and the bad.
Totally. So how do we do that? How do we strike that balance between, embracing the cool new stuff, but also not getting lost in it?
Well, I think it starts with being intentional about how we use our technology. So instead of just passively consuming whatever they throw at us, we need to be more active. Ask ourselves, why am I using this app? What am I willing to get out of this? Is it actually serving me?
Yeah. It's like anything else, right?
Yeah.
Moderation.
Exactly. It's about being mindful of our needs and values. And if something feels like it's taking over or it's pulling us away from the things that are important to us, maybe it's time to take a step back.
Yeah, reassess. So I think that's a good transition into the last big topic, the future of Apple Intelligence.
Mhm.
Where is all this heading? What can we expect?
Yeah.
What should we be demanding from Apple and from other companies as this technology keeps developing?
Right. Because it's just the beginning. This is just the start.
It's crazy to think about, right?
Yeah. AI is still in its early stages, and it's going to keep developing
Yeah,
and changing at an incredibly rapid pace.
it's moving so fast. So, listeners, get ready. We're going to put on our, our futurist hats and try to imagine what the future holds for Apple Intelligence right after this. Okay, so we've talked about a lot, right? User reactions to Apple Intelligence, which features are working, which ones maybe aren't so much.
Mm.
And, we've talked about the bigger picture concerns, right?
Yeah.
Data privacy, all that.
Yeah. What does it all mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about having the coolest phone or the, the most advanced AI features. It's about using technology
Right.
in a way that, actually aligns with what we care about
Yeah.
and makes our life better,
Mm.
like actually better.
Right. Right. And that's what makes talking about the future of Apple Intelligence so interesting, because this stuff's changing so fast, right? It's hard to say exactly what's coming next, but we can definitely we can speculate a bit.
Yeah, let's do that. So Like, where do you see all this going? What's the future of Apple Intelligence?
Well, I think we can safely say that AI is just going to become more and more integrated into like everything you do on your iPhone.
Hmm.
We're going to see more personalized features for sure,
Yeah.
more automation,
Yeah.
and more ways in which the AI is working in the background, sort of anticipating what you need and trying to make your life easier.
That sounds both exciting and kind of creepy. Like, on the one hand, yeah, I want a phone that, like, really knows me.
Right.
But also, it's a little weird, right?
It is, yeah. It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
And it's going to be crucial for Apple and, other tech companies to really be transparent
Hmm.
about how they're using your data and give you control, like real control over your privacy.
Right, right. So what can we do, like, as users? How can we make sure that that AI is used ethically, as
Mm.
it becomes more and more a part of our lives?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed
Yeah.
and engaged. Pay attention to how AI is being used in the products and services that you use.
Right.
Ask questions, like do
Right.
your research,
Okay.
and don't be afraid to speak up if you have concerns.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't just sit back and let this stuff happen to us. We need to be active, right?
Exactly. And remember, AI is a tool.
Okay.
Like any tool, it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. It's up to us
Right.
to make sure that it's serving humanity.
Not the other way around.
Yeah.
So, like, if there was one thing you want listeners to take away from this whole, conversation about Apple Intelligence, what would it be?
I want them to remember that they have a choice. You have a voice, you have a choice. As consumers, we have power. We decide what products, what services we're going to support.
Right.
And we can demand that these companies put privacy first. Be transparent, develop AI ethically. The future of this technology, it's not set in stone. It's something that we're all creating together.
So, listeners, we're going to leave you with that, something to think about. What kind of future do you want for Apple Intelligence
Mm-hmm.
and for AI in general? Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.